Welcome to a virtual Technocamps workshop. My name's Andrew and today we'll be learning to draw with code and we will cover the basic elements we need to start. We'll be using the Python Turtle library graphics as this library allows us to draw art form from code. So let's have a look at some examples so you can understand what we can create using code. If we start on the left, we have some basic shapes like squares, stars, and then we bring in different elements of maths and repeat blocks below there. And then as we move across the screen, we have colours being brought into the shapes. So we have outline colours, so the colour of the pen, and then we have fill colours, and then by the end we bring all these elements together and we can create some amazing artwork, like you can see in the bottom right corner. So let's get started. With all programming language, we can use different libraries that other developers have created. There's many reasons why we do this, but some of the main ones are it saves a lot of time having to recreate these libraries that people have already created. It makes for a faster workflow. And the only negative is we need to learn that new library and how it works so we can be efficient with it. And with this workshop, we will be using the Turtle Python library. So let's see how we can bring all these elements together to start programming our first artwork. First, let's open an online editor. So head over to this link here and you will have an online web page like you can see in front of you. On the left hand side here, where we have the number 1, so this window here, this is where we write our program and all our instructions. And once we've written our program, the next thing we can do is we can either save it or we can run the program. If we select run, the output will be shown in this window here under the results. If you don't get an image here, most likely you have an error in your program here. If you select console, it will show you where the error is. It might say something like on line 5 error, and you just need to go to line 5 here and figure out what the problem is with that piece of code. So I will just give you a moment to log into the online editor. Once you're ready, come back and hit play and we'll move on to writing our first Python program. So let's write our first Turtle Python program. We'll just run through some of the basic blocks here which we need to write our Turtle Python program. So as you can see, all the ones in red, these are all English language, or it could be Welsh language, and they're all just comments which are easily readable to us. The program ignores all these comments here and it just does the program instructions which are not commented out here. So it's always good practice to write comments in your code, so when you come back and revisit your code, you can see what each line of code is doing. So the first thing we need to do is we need to import the Turtle library. So at the top of your program you need to write import space turtle, and this will bring that library into our program so we can use any elements in that Turtle library throughout this program. And the next thing we need to do is create a turtle object in our program which we can use, and we pull that information from the Turtle library. So it's turtle.turtle with a capital T. Please make sure you use the correct uppercase and lowercase in the correct places. You may have an error in your code when you've used the wrong case, as Python is case sensitive. The next thing we want to do is change the appearance of the turtle on the screen, so we can actually see a turtle rather than a triangle going around the screen. So here we can bring the myTurtle object we created, and then we can call shape, and we can define the shape as a turtle. The next thing we do is we get our object myTurtle and we move the object forward by 100 pixels. And you can change the value inside the bracket, so this could be any value you like. That will just be the distance it moves forward. And once we've written all our code and our program and we're happy with it, we need to end the program at the bottom, so we call turtle.done, and any script after this line of code will not run. So this might be a good point to pause the screen so you can write down all these instruction blocks, so we have all the basic blocks we need to write the rest of our program. Let's have a look at some more turtle commands so we can move our turtle around the screen. So far we've got our turtle to move forward by 100 pixels, and we know we can change the value of 100. So can you work out the commands to get your turtle to move left, backwards and right? And once you've worked out how to do left, backwards and right, try and draw some simple shapes, maybe like a square or a triangle, and just see what shapes you can create. So this will be again a good point to pause the screen and come back once you've worked out all these commands, and we'll move on to the next section of the workshop. So if we look in our code, if we're creating a shape, we're maybe using the same code over and over again. So if we created a square, we would move forward, we would move left, we would move forward, move left, we'd move forward, move left, we'd move forward, and we'd move left. So can you hear that I'm repeating myself over and over again? And this makes code really hard to read sometimes. And if we do have a problem in our code, we have to go through all those lines and figure out where the problem is, or there may be a problem with every line of code. So if we use something called a loop, we could repeat a set instructions a number of times, which will make our code easier to read, easier to modify, and easier to debug in the future. So let's have a look at how a loop works in our Python program. Here is a repeat block. Here we are saying for x in the range, and this is the number of times we are repeating the code. So this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a million, depends what number you want here. And it would repeat this section of code here in the square, that set number of times. So if we were creating a square, we would say for x in range of 4, because it's 4 sides to a square. And inside this coding instructions here, where we are tabbed in, we say move forward, turn left. And it would repeat those instructions 4 times if we had the number 4 in here. If we had the number 8, we would repeat these instructions 8 times. Once we've repeated the instructions the set number of times, we then break out of this loop and we carry on with the next set of instructions in the program. So if we wrote a program using a loop, it would look something like this. So now we can see the code we currently have before we've implemented the for loop. We're moving forward and we're moving right, and we're repeating these instructions over and over again. Can you identify that? So here we've got move forward, move right. And everyone in the red then are repeating these instructions. So remember from the last slide where we used the for instruction. We can change this code now so it looks something a bit like this. Remember to write comments in your code. So for x in the range of 4, because we repeated those instructions 4 times, we can move the turtle forward and right. So using this for loop and creating your own, what shapes can you create? So far, all the shapes we've been creating are black and white. In the last slide, there was a hint at how we could change this. You may have noticed it, but we are going to show you how we can change the color of the pen, and then how we can fill in the shape to have all these different colors. Let's add some color to our shape. So first we're going to look at how we can change the color of the pen. So the pen is changed by using dot color, and in the brackets and quotation marks, picking the color you like. So now using this coding block, can you add color to your pen and your shapes? So remember, the colour instruction block will go before you draw your shape. If you have it after your shape, the shape will not be in that colour. This will be a nice point to pause so you can work out how you can change the colour of the pen. And when you come back, we will add a fill colour to our shapes. So now we've got an outline colour to our shape. Now we need to talk about how we can fill in the shape with a colour. So the first thing we need to do before we create our shape, we need to define what colour fill we want to use. Object myturtle.fill colour, and again we pick the colour, and then we need to specify when we start the fill and when we end the fill. So we always start the fill before we start drawing our shape. Then once we've finished drawing our shape, we end the fill, and at the point where we say end fill, that is the point where the colour will be applied to your shape. So if we use this in our example, we would pick the colour of the pen first, then we would pick the colour of the fill colour, and then we would begin to fill the shape here. It won't appear on the screen until you've finished the for loop, and you've got this instruction here where you end the fill. When we end the fill here, the shape will have a fill colour blue, and this will be applied at this point here. Now using the fill colour, try and implement this in your program and see what shapes and fill and colours you can create. Once you are happy with how all of these elements work, you can skip back and have a look at them again if you're not sure on some of these elements. Once you've created some of your shapes, and we'd like you to share that with everyone else taking part in the Technocamp's virtual workshops. So you can, on any of our media platforms, you can hashtag Technocamps online, and you can see what other people are doing with our workshops and what they're creating. And we are available on all these social media platforms, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Thank you for attending our Technocamp's virtual workshop. In part 2, we will look at variables and functions. Take care and goodbye.